Hello and welcome to Call to Arms, and thank you for answering the call, and thank you for being patient as well. We're starting a wee bit behind the start time of half past. Unfortunately, there were some gremlins in the system. Again, that seems to always keep happening right before we try to go live. The mic just would not work for some reason, but hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully everything's fine, and hopefully you can also hear my guest, who I'm very excited to have with us. It's Mr. John Bayliss. Say hello, John.
Hi there, nice to be on.
Yeah, no, thanks for having it. It's great to have you on. So this is our Beast of Chaos review. So it's Battlecry episode 16. So yes, we're getting quite a number of these on now. And I thought, who better to take us through the new book than the man who's been abusing this tome for the past good while, and really been piloting this book to some great heights. And it'd be really interesting to get your kind of tactical knowledge and any kind of like wee tricks and what you think about the book, because a lot has changed. Um,
Very
so
much so, it's a completely different book.
yeah, exactly. So it's going to be a lot for us to kind of digest and go through, and yeah, hopefully it's very kind of educational for folks. Before we go any further, however, I just want to say thank you to all our viewers. Please, if you have any questions at all, any comments, please comment down below in the live chat. I'd also like to thank all of the sponsors as well. You can see them all on screen there, folks. And also, please remember to like, subscribe, and also comment down below with "I answered the call," and in the month of February we'll do another monthly giveaway. Last month that was won by Miss Karen Newby, and she'll actually be on later on this week on Friday. She's got a battle report with the brand new beasts as well, so that'll be great to see. So yeah. On there's Cara saying hi just now. So hi Cara, how you doing? Great to have you on. Also a fellow Beasts lover, yeah, I'm sure she'll have lots of thoughts as well.
Just been
Um,
playing them a long time.
oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. So I can't wait to see what she brings on to the channel. I'm sure it'll be a great army to kind of showcase the new book. So yeah, I think that's us, folks. So without further ado, let's get on to it, shall we? Let's go straight into
Yep.
the review. Now, I will say this was not prepared by me at all. This little presentation, this was very kindly made by someone in the community. Managed to get this off of Facebook of all places. But they've done a really nice job here, just summarising all of the new rules for the new book and what have you. So yeah, really excited to have this here. So before we kind of go on and speak about things, John, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about this new book? You've already said that it's basically a new tome. So yeah, give me your kind of your overhead view of this thing.
Kind of mixed feelings. I'm not sure how to feel about this book yet. It's a whole new army. It
Mm-hmm.
is almost unrecognizable from the last book that we've been playing for the while. We had the old book, which I've got beside me for many years, that nobody used because it was just so rubbish to play. It had like a 35% win rate or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And then they came out with that White Dwarf review, and it skyrocketed into the stratosphere and had, what was it, a 58% win rate or something silly like that. This new book is just starting again. It's starting from scratch. All the abilities that everybody knew, some of us loved them, some people hated them, they're all gone, and we're playing something completely different. It is a very nice book. It's a very well written book. It's probably a very balanced book and is probably going to end up where Games Workshop want them to be at around about the high 40s, something like that. So I think it's a very well written book. It's just completely different from the old one.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to miss some of the key features from the old one.
And what were some of those key features that you liked so much, John?
Well, as everybody knows, I loved to rally Dragon Ogres on a 4 plus. I was a huge fan of pushing big blocks of Dragon Ogres into my opponent and then watching them panic as they tried to kill them all. It was great fun for me, not so much fun for them, but it was very strong. I really enjoyed the summoning mechanism. I enjoyed the sort of the thematic element of that you had a herdstone and you had little hordes of other beasts turning up. The Dragon Ogres rallying in a 4 plus wasn't thematic at all, but units of Ungors coming on the side of the board, that sort of thing was. And that's gone as well. So I'm going to miss the call point element of the book, I think. the rallying big things in a 4+ is the strong bit that obviously I'll miss on the tabletop, but in my heart I'm going to miss the summoning small units onto the board, and also just having a box of models to pick things out of that you needed. I liked bringing on my Chimera, I liked bringing on some dogs, but I liked also bringing on units of Bestigor and Bulgors and things like that. So it's just totally different feel.
Yeah, and that is something that was kind of like the beast's identity, was that they could hang with some of the bigger boys prior to their White Dwarf kind of almost resurgence. They could hang with them on certain battle plans and things like that because they had the mobility, they had the ability to bring things on board edges and really just swarm the board with a lot of cheap bodies that could overwhelm the opponent. And now, as you say, this it's just a totally different game now. There's no summoning to be had in here whatsoever. We do have some regen available to us to actually get models back, but in terms of entire units, new units getting added to the board here, that's completely dead. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what shakes out from the book. As you've already pointed out as well, the rallying has changed now as well. No more 4-up rally from the Hearthstone, which could be quite impactful. I think probably better for the game overall. And as you
Does
say,
seem a little does seem a little strange that it was the one thing everybody hated, and they took it away from boosts, and then at the same time released the Gits book with rally on a 4+ to 3 units. So
yeah, yeah,
there's obviously two camps going here at the same time.
I think it's
There's the
interesting.
sensible people in one room in cardigans, and then there's the interns in the next room with a keg of beer in the middle of the room.
It is a fair point, and I think it's also interesting to see as well as what I think is what their times between writing a book and then releasing, and then because we also saw something similar with the with the Ever-Chosen Subfaction in the Slaves book. They had them pegged for a 4-up rally and then immediately nerfed that to 5-up rally. So it's like I think it almost feels like maybe months to maybe like a year ago, GW had this grand plan of, we're going to give these armies all 4-up rallies, and then the Beast got it. They went insanely strong because of it. And well, not just because of that, but for other things as well. And then now they're like, whoa, we maybe need to dial this down. So yeah, I do know there's a lot of people who are very excited about Gits, and maybe we'll have a Gits review on the channel this month as well. But I think there's a lot of people who are already thinking the 4-up rally's not going to last. Like it's going to go either up to 5-up or whatever, or something like that. So yeah, I think. I mean, there are still other armies out there that have a 4-up rally. I mean, Doc, hello.
Doc's kept theirs all this time.
The whole time. They've been untouched.
So who knows? They've been quietly. Yeah. Everyone's ignored that.
Exactly. Like nothing to see here, guys. But yeah, no, great thoughts. So let's dive on in, shall we? So brand new allegiance abilities, as we've already kind of alluded to. So gone as the primordial call points. There's none of that now. There's no summoning. Instead, what we have is Beast Herd Ambush. Now we did have kind of ambushing mechanics in the book already. This is pretty new though, because you can now ambush everything. So you literally can null deploy your entire army. Yeah. So, as it says there, during deployment, instead of setting up any Beast of Chaos unit on the battlefield, you just put them in reserve, and they come out more than 9 away, and they have to be wholly within 9 of the battlefield edge, which is actually a bit better than their last kind of ambushing, because it was wholly within 6, am I right in saying, John?
It was, yeah. So it's a massive change. You're going to get much further onto the field, and you'll get multiple units onto objectives, where before you could squeak sort of 4 or 5 Ungor on. Now you can get the whole unit onto an objective.
Yeah.
So 9 inches is just a huge difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, really just quite cool. I think it's very on theme for the army. They're all about ambushing in, not being seen and then kind of coming on thematically. And yeah, could be quite powerful as well in terms of
the other difference to that is that it used to be just your Brayherd units unless you took one specific sub-faction which let you bring on the Bulgors and Gorgons and things as well, but this is now just all Beasts of Chaos units.
That's right, yeah, because there was a sub-faction that could work for Darkwalkers for Warherd. They could ambush, but now it's just everything.
They could do half of their units that were kept off could wait till turn 2.
Got you.
Whereas every other faction it had to be turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is turn 1 and 2 as well. So it's huge difference.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, as it says, at start the third battle round. If you're still off, then you're dead. Also, everything that gets set up in ambush gets +1 to charge now as well. So before, obviously, if you were wanting to come out in ambush, you were kind of having to stare down these 9-inch charges. Now you get a wee Brucey bonus if you decide to stay off the
Yeah.
board, which is nice. So yeah. So what's your thoughts on the new ambush mechanic?
I love that. I think that is probably one of the strongest parts of the new book.
Yeah.
The 9-inch massive, the +1 to charge means that you're looking at 8-inch charges, and obviously you can re-roll one of them. I think that's great. Love it.
Yeah, fantastic,
Yep.
love it. And as I say, yeah, very, very on theme, and it's nice to have. Now, something totally different that they never had in the last book. We have the Rituals of Ruin. So before we go into them, what's your thoughts on the rituals?
I like the notion.
Mm-hmm.
It's another one of these things where they're giving out little, effectively heroic actions and things to different heroes.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing that in a few different books at the moment. We'll see later on that they've given monstrous actions as well. So they're giving
Yeah.
little sort of tweaks, little specialist things that add flavor to the army. So it is that, it's flavor. None of them are game breaking.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to hurt either yourself or a nearby unit for D3 mortal wounds to do it, and you cannot negate them. But it does, brings back that little bit of flavor of slaughtering some goats beside your hero to get off a little extra power. You used to get call points, now you're getting a ritual for it instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like it. It's good.
Yeah.
Something
Okay.
interesting.
That's good.
I like the fact you can do one per hero.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in addition to any other heroic action. So they don't stop you doing other things. They don't stop you getting a command point or a finest hour or whatever you like. Yeah, there's a few of them that are good. I don't know if you heard, but me say the Brayherd Shaman adds 6 inches to the range of the one they can do as well. So
that's
suddenly you get an
cute.
18-inch range D6 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Or make them run 2d6 towards you.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Perfect.
So overall,
Yeah.
something new.
No, absolutely, and it's a quite cool to note as well that you can actually do these abilities even with heroes that aren't starting on the battlefield as well.
Yeah, there's something about that in there, isn't there, that you
Yeah.
can pick one off board to do it.
Yeah. In addition, in your hero phase, you can carry out one of the heroic actions to the table below with one friendly Beast of Chaos hero that is in reserve. Obviously, it means that he is definitely taking the D3 mortals. Can't be passed off to a unit because that's fine. But it's a wee bit of tech there. We've got Delta GT0 asking as well, does the Brayherd ability also work for the one in reserve, do we think?
I would say that it does because it's the Brayherd Shaman doing it. So he gets it plus 6 inches to his range of what's called Ritual of Ruin.
Yeah.
So it does mean that, for Brayherd Shamans in reserve, you can pick a point on the board edge and take a target within 18 inches of that and give them D6 mortal wounds.
Nice.
You're taking D3 in return, but
yeah.
It could be powerful.
No, absolutely. No, I agree. Okay.
You could also make a unit run back towards their back board edge if you felt like it. And then you could come on the other side of the table.
That's very true. Yeah, movement control is going to be, I think, going to be quite big here. So I quite like that. No, that's quite cool. So yeah, some really nice heroic actions there, and yeah, they can carry out all of them in one heroic in one hero phase as well. Yeah.
Do each of them once.
Yeah. So pretty cool. I like that. So that's it, and then that's us for allegiance abilities. So you've got your ambush and you've got your rituals of ruin. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So now we talk about some command traits. Okay. So I believe before, back in the older book, which was kind of split up, and you had your Brayherd, your Allherd, your kind of your Thunderscorn. Did they all have individual little command abilities they could have as well?
I believe they did, yeah. They had Brayherd heroes, Warherd heroes, and Thunderscorn heroes.
Yeah. So it looks like they've just amalgamated everything now. So it's all just Alpha Beast Instincts. These are the Beasts of Chaos, hero only. So they do still have the Thunderscorn Wizards, the Lord of the Darkstorms, the Lord of the Twisted Wilds, but they've kind of done away with trying to kind of separate the command traits and artifacts, things like that. They're just making them all
Yeah.
from one pool, which is
Gone
nice.
from 18 to 6.
Yeah, and to be fair, I like that, because you'll probably find out of those 18, there's only 1 or 2 that you might even want to take anyway, so there's 16 just wastes of text. So I like the fact that they're just kind of condensing it, making it more streamlined, and going for it. So we might not go through each and every one. I'll maybe just kind of ask your opinion on what you think, what you would quite like. I'll also kind of give my opinion on which ones kind of jumped out at me as being quite strong, and I can see 2 here that I would quite like to run. So why don't you go first, John, and then I can pick up on the second one.
To me, there's one that I would probably pick every single time, and that is the Slake Fray Reveler.
Yeah,
and that's the one.
This is nuts. This is pretty nuts. Yeah. So yeah, Slake Fray Reveler. I think this would be the top pick, everyone's top pick, because why wouldn't you just want more movement on your guys? So, but especially now as well, that I've noticed that the Great Bray Shaman doesn't add 3 inches to the movement of units anymore. So now you just take this, and it says as long as your general's in the battlefield at the start of your movement phase, you add 3 inches to the move characteristic of friendly Beasts of Chaos units that start a normal move within 6 inches of a terrain feature until the end of that phase. So that's a huge kind of range, because you're
pretty much the whole board.
Pretty much always going to be within 6 inches, right? And it's not the whole unit. It just needs to, you just need to tag one little guy within 6 of that, and as long as it's the start of, and as long as it's a normal move, then they're getting an extra 3 inches of movement. So that to me just seems amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it just says to your movement, to move characteristics, so it will include runs and all that. So it's any kind of move.
Cool. Movement characteristics. Units that start a normal move. So it says here you add 3 inches to the move characteristic of units that start a normal move. So normal moves are separate from runs and retreats.
I mean, you don't get it if you run.
I think that's the clause here, is what I'm thinking. Yeah,
you might not get it if you run then.
Yeah, because
I'm a little strange.
Because I'm right in saying now, because I know that back in 2nd edition the kind of normal move was kind of quite a big umbrella term, but now it literally has normal move, run, retreat.
Run, move.
Yeah. So it looks as if it just means that if you are just doing a normal move, which would then open you up to be able to charge later in the turn, you get plus 3 inches to this move, which I think still really,
take it.
Still really good, 100%. Yeah, you just add 3 inch movement to all your units, which is amazing. The only other one that I quite like the look of, and look, these are command traits, guys, so you're not going to be able to take more than one. Okay, so they're not like artifacts where it's like, oh, I like that one, and if I can, I'll stick in the second one. I think that I think you're right. Slake Fray Reveler is always probably going to be the one you're going to pick. Well, the one I quite like is it's just kind of like, oh, cool, is the Twist Fray Curse Beast, which is add the number of the current battle round to the casting rolls for the general. Now, I totally agree, not as impactful as giving your entire army plus 3 inches to their move, but I also think it's really cool. The idea you could have this.
Well, they've got some good spells.
Yeah, so you can have this little beast potentially, on turn 1. If you're standing next to Arcane, you could be in +2 to cast, and then +3, and then +4, +5. But and then just imagine this little guy maybe on like +5 or 6 by the end of the game, if he's still alive, obviously.
A one-cast wizard battling the gash.
Just going, come on, buddy, I'll take you.
To get that mystic shield off.
I'll take you, man. Yeah, but that's my little kind of cute pick. But yeah, I think you're bang on that one there for the Slake Fray Reveler.
Some people might tack into Bestial Cunning to get one unit that sets up within 7 inches from an enemy.
Yeah,
with your +1 charge, that's 6 inches, which you could then re-roll. If you're chucking a big unit of something, maybe 30 Bestigor or 9 Bulgors or whatever, it could be worth it then. But
yeah, for sure.
I'm still.
Right in saying a lot of the Brayherd units with the musician, it gives them another +1 to charge as well. Is that right?
I think it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can get +2 to that. So you get a 5 inch charge. 100%. If that's what you're going, the fact that it's only one unit and that's it, that's your one and done.
And you picked the unit beforehand
as well. It's quite limiting, but another good shot there. In artifacts, again, we won't go through them all. Which of the artifacts are kind of jumping out at you, John?
For me, it was the Beating Gnarl Staff.
Is this
Pick
the one?
at the end of your movement phase, pick an objective or terrain feature within 6 of the bear and roll a dice. On a 2+, each unit within 6 inches takes D3 mortal wounds, does not affect Beasts of Chaos units.
I like it.
So you can come on the board edge and do it. You can pick an objective that your opponent's clustered around and hit everybody in there on a 2+. It's just very good. It's effectively a little mortal wound bomb.
Yes, no, I like it. Yeah, that one's pretty cool. The other, I think maybe the only other one that I quite liked was potentially, it was the Slither Rack Helm. That was the one which is make a charge, pick a unit within an inch, and a 2-up strike last for that unit. I thought that could be quite. It does then mean you have to have a combat hero, and I could maybe only see 1 or 2 people that could actually work.
None of them are strong enough, really, to make it that impactful. It's something that beasts don't have is a big character.
Yeah, well, I suppose the thing is as well is it doesn't necessarily need to be a big character, because you get that 2-up, that unit's striking last, and really it's just a delivery mechanism to get that strike last, so that hopefully be multi-charging it with other things to wipe out a big threat or something like that. But I quite like that. It's something that kind of I feel like maybe beast players might tick into with the strike last stuff, because I know that Gore as well, which we'll touch upon, they could also be a nice strike last kind of almost like little missile that you could use as well. I could see play with that, because we all know beasts don't like getting hit back. Yeah.
No, they don't.
They're kind of made it. If
you're getting 2 decent units in, then it could be useful then, because you could make one fight last with the little hero who went with them, and then fight with the other one first and come back. So it's got some play.
Yeah.
I just love that Bleating Gnarl Staff. I think that's going to have so much potential.
No, absolutely. Very cool. The other one as well, Axe of Morgor. The bearer's melee weapons. Wards can't be used for those things as well.
Again, you need the beat stick hero to carry it.
Yeah. And you've not really, as you say, we've not really got that. Your beast lords, 5 attacks at rend 1, 2 damage a pop. It's not huge. But yeah, I think that those ones there. I'm not a huge fan of the Brave Blast. I'm not usually a fan of once per battle things anyway, unless they're hugely impactful. Getting 10 gore or 10 ungore or 10 ungore raiders, I don't know if it's going to win you the game. For that once per game.
It's 100 points.
Yeah.
You're getting a 100-point unit.
Yeah.
There's times when you will want that 100-point unit, but I don't know that it's, as you say, going to change the game.
Yeah, indeed. And then the other ones, not hugely liking. So yeah, that's us. So that's for the artifacts. Onto the spell lore. Now we still have from the last book as well, because there was the Thunderscorn. Wizards only, they had the Lord of the Darkstorms, which we're keeping, that they have their own lore now as well, and then we also have the Lord of the Twisted Wilds, which is the Grey-haired Wizards only as well. So we've got that kind of similar thing from the last book. And another similar thing from the last book, we're going to start off with the most tilting spell that I know, John, that you've used to great effect against me and against other people as well. So we'll start off with Lord of the Darkstorms, and we're going to start off with Hailstorm. I hate this spell. Oh my actual god, it is so powerful. I cannot believe it's still here. Is it been totally unchanged? Is it still the same range, still the same casting value?
Check range for you. The wording to the rest of it's certainly the same. I'll just see if I can find the actual spell. Hailstorm, nope, 21 inches.
21 inches, cast on a 6.
Completely unchanged. Cast on a 6.
Unchanged. Genuinely can't believe this. I'm just wondering if they're thinking, it's fine. There's this kind of, they've got lots of super casters, super deniers out there. Maybe it won't see that much. Maybe it won't be that impactful. I know that for myself, when I played against this, it was hugely impactful. So Hailstorm, cast on a 6, 21 inches. You pick an enemy unit within range, and until the next hero phase, you half the move characteristic, and you half run rolls, and you half charge rolls. Oh.
Yeah,
That's
huge. Very good spell.
Yeah. The range is great. 21 inches to do this. Casting value, nice. You just need to roll just slightly below average on 2d6 to get this off. Now, obviously, there's no guarantee that it is going to go off. Because, as I say, there's lots of magic DOMs out there that could stop this. But when this does, holy moly! And this, yeah, it's just I've got like NAM flashbacks, PTSD of you casting this on a unit and then also making them half charges with your Khorne Demon Prince, which is now dead, thankfully.
Gone
But
forever.
You were quartering my charges, which meant I had to roll box cars to even make a 3-inch charge, which was ludicrous. At least now it's just only going to be half. But this is horrendous. And I could definitely see people just taking a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth to just get access to the spell.
To be fair, the Thunderscorn Wizards chart is fantastic. There's a whole bunch of good spells there, and most of them have fairly low casting values, which is good because there's almost no buffs to casting in this army, other than that one command trait you mentioned.
Oh yeah.
Which, you could have a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth with that command trait and the Hailstorm spell standing at the back, just chucking out a Hailstorm.
Chucking out, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great lore. If only you had some casting buffs.
Yeah, that's true. And it's kind of, I always think back to when I used to play Feck, and it was like, oh man, the Feck spell buffs were amazing, but you had to get them off, and you had to really lean in, taking hard to get any sort of bonuses to cast in that army, and it was kind of quite a big detriment to the list as well. But yeah, so let's go through some of the other ones. So because you mentioned there's some really great spells in here as well. So we've got Fulgurous Blades. This again, cast value 6, so nice, quite nice cast value. Range of 18, seriously cast. You pick a friendly piece of chaos unit wholly within range, and till the next hero phase, you subtract 1 from the attack's characteristic of melee weapons that target that unit to a minimum of 1. So that's really cool. Nice wee defensive buff for that unit. Yeah. Yep, just knocks an attack base off of whatever's kind of trying to hit into them. You've got Thunder Wave, cast on a 5, range of 3 inches, so you're going to have to be either in combat or have spell portal for this one.
Yeah. You can forget this one.
You forget this one, okay. Oh god, each unit within range suffers D3 mortal wounds. Oh, I see. All right, okay. Yeah, okay. Then we've got Furious Gale. Now, this seems to be, I think this is quite a good spell. You subtract the 1 from the attacks of missile weapons that go into that unit. So it's just like Fulgurous Blades, but it's for missile weapons, essentially.
Interesting and situational. It's going to depends on who you play.
Yeah.
If you're up against long strike crossbows or bow snakes or something, great, fantastic. If you're up against sentinels, kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, don't care. Do not care.
KO might be good against KO, perhaps.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there's a lot of good shooters out there that have one shot that does d6 damage, so it doesn't affect them. It's only really got a couple of units it's good against.
Yeah.
If you know you're playing against them, then it's very, very good.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
It'll have its day.
And then we've got Raging Storm.
This one I like.
You like this one? Oh, interesting. So, Raging Storm, it has a casting value of 8, so this is the highest one we've had so far. If successfully cast, you can heal 1 wound allocated to each friendly Thunderscorn unit on the battlefield. In addition, each enemy unit on the battlefield suffers 1 mortal wound. So tell me why you like this, John.
It's another mortal wound to their entire army. So it's one of those things of just picking all their little heroes in the background, all their Galician champions that are hiding behind units. It's a mortal wound on them every time you cast it. If it wasn't an 8. It's a problem. No buffs, casting on an 8, you'll only get it a couple times.
Yeah, that's true.
But just chucking that 1 mortal wound on everybody, if you add in that Gnarl Staff or whatever it's called, and there's various other things that can do mortal wounds here and there, it could be very impactful.
Yeah.
It competes with the Hailstorm for me, but unfortunately its casting value probably makes Hailstorm my pick.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're seeing with this new GHB people having to tech into mortal wounds, like AoE mortal wounds, or some way of getting mortal wound damage onto the galley champs, and I think this is one way to do that, along with, as you said, other things as well.
If you had this spell, if you had the Gnarl Staff, if you used the Realm spell, There's lots of ways, even in just this book, which isn't really a mortal wound spamming army,
Yeah.
of doing mortal wounds to the Galician champions that can't be targeted.
Yeah.
And then you could, we'll come into some of the war scrolls later that which allow you to do things from board edges and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and then there's that Ritual of Ruin. You could pick a board edge and do D6 mortals. There's lots of ways that you can kill out the Galician champion from behind their lines, who could be on an objective and so on.
Yeah.
So, I like them.
Nice, I like it. Nice wee tech piece that. Cool. So that's the dark lore of the dark storms for the Thunderscorn wizards. Now we go into the lore of the Twisted Wilds. So we have one extra spell here. Yeah, we've got 6 instead of 5, and yeah, this is for grey-haired wizards only. So let's get into it. So we have Vile Tide, cast on a 6, range of 12. Successfully cast, you pick an enemy unit within range, invisible, and they suffer D3 mortal wounds, and they cannot receive commands until the end of that turn. Ho! Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yep. It's good, it's a low casting value, it's a short range. It's a Bray Herd within 12 inches. Doesn't want to be there.
No.
But it's a great spell overall.
Mm-hmm.
D3 mortal wounds is D3 mortal wounds, but cannot receive commands is very useful because it covers all phases.
Yeah. Could you see a Beast of Chaos army taking Spell Portal purely for this spell?
Probably not.
Okay.
You struggle to have enough wizards
Mm-hmm.
to cast them all without getting one unbound. You don't have the buffs to get the spell portal and this spell out from enough and putting a lot of points into that spell portal that you might never get to use.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody might and get some good success out of it, but for me, I don't think they're good enough wizards to spend a lot of points on endless spells.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a heavy cost investment, and you're right. You need one wizard to cast portals, then you need the other wizard to cast and if either of those two things fails, obviously then the whole thing.
Or you're taking the arcane tome to try and do it from one wizard.
Yeah, true.
I quite like some of their artifacts already, so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
It's the lack of buffs to their spell casting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think still very powerful, but you're right. Yeah, there's limitations there with the range, and also, yeah, lack of pluses to cast. Then we've got Vicious Stranglethorns. This is cast on a 5, so nice casting value. 18 inches range as well, so a lot better for the range. And if you successfully cast, you pick an enemy unit within range invisible, and the enemy unit cannot make pile-in moves until the end of your next hero phase. This is quite nice as well.
It's a useful spell. Mm-hmm. It's just within range rather than wholly within range,
yep.
which is good. Low casting value. Still pile-ins means you can tag unit on one end and try and get as much damage into them as you can. Yeah, it's a good spell.
Mm-hmm. No, I like it. Yeah, and again, low casting value, which is nice. We then have Primal Dominance. So this is where you, so again, cast value of a 5, 18-inch range. You pick an enemy monster within range invisible. To your next hero phase, that monster counts as one model for the purpose of contesting objectives, and you cannot carry out monstrous rampages. I don't particularly like this spell.
There'll be a time when it wins you a game. That will be few and far between.
Yeah. It's definitely so. If you're talking about normal monsters, you're basically just saying, okay, you have 4 less models on that objective now, and you can't either roar or stomp me or whatever. Which
means your monster steals it from their monster.
True, but
it makes a gargant into one.
Well, that was the thing. So if it's a normal monster, and I'm like, right, so you have 4 less models, surely me as a beast player, I can get 4 more models on that objective than you can. Surely I could be able to do that. But yeah, for very specific things like Gargants, Kragnos, who obviously have they count as loads, 20, 25, 30, then that could be huge for that. Yep. But as a very specific niche thing for that, certainly. But yeah, I think could see play, and as you say, maybe it could possibly win you a game. We've got Tendrils of Atrophy, cast value of 7, range of 12 again, so short range, and you pick an enemy unit within range invisible, and you add 1 to the damage inflicted by each successful attack made with melee weapons that target that unit until your next hero phase. Oof, that's pretty tasty. But for that tastiness, you do have to get the higher casting value, and it's a short range as well.
Yeah, you're up close and personal, and you're relying on it. You might not get the spell off, but if it does, it's great. If you manage to get that and chuck your Bestigor in or something, then
Yep.
you know that's huge.
Absolutely.
Unless you're playing Night Haunt, of course.
Of course, because we just negate everything, so it's fine. But yeah, no, I like that. We've then got Wild Rampage, casting value 7. Again, 12 inches. You pick a friendly unit. It gives you exploding 6s. Yeah, gives you exploding 6s with melee weapons onto that unit, onto that friendly unit, and that's pretty nice as well.
That's a good spell. Good spell. Casting value 7 is not too bad.
Yeah.
It's a good spell.
Yep. Cool. And also the Holy Within 12 as well is quite easy for you to get for your friendly stuff, I'd say, which is good. And then last but not least, Titanic Fury. This is cast on a 6, range of 12 again, and you pick a friendly Beast of Chaos monster, and then until the next hero phase, you add 1 to the attacks characteristic of that monster's melee weapons. Meh. I'm thinking meh here.
Only one monster it's good on is a Chimera. It's not worth picking.
Yeah.
To be honest, compared to the others, I wouldn't.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, for me, I'd say for the spells out there, Vile Tide kind of shoots out at me. The ability to so a unit can't receive commands. We know it's huge. There's artifacts, there's other abilities in the game that can do this, and it's amazing. So the fact you can get that on a 6, the range is an issue, yep, but that's really cool. I do really like the Tendrils of Atrophy and Wild Rampage. I could definitely see those just being a kind of a combo pick, just to really try and hammer home the damage from that one unit onto that other one unit. I think that's those would be probably the most common picks.
Agreed.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, let's move on. We'll start talking about some sub-factions then. So we have the Great Phrase. So we have similar names from the last book. We've got All Herd, we've got Dark Walkers, we've got Gave Spawn, and we've got a new one called Quake Fray. That's pretty cool, which we'll have a wee chat about. But we'll go through one at a time. So we've got All Herd. So they've got Bestial Might as their sub-faction ability, and at the end of the Battle Shock phase you can return D3 plus 3 slain models to each friendly All Herd Gore, All Herd Ungor, and All Herd Ungor Raider units on the battlefield. I quite like this.
It's good. It's at the end of every Battle Shock phase, so your turn, their opponent's turn. It's just a way of recycling models. The unit has to be alive to return models, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that the lesser Gores all struggle with. So unless you're starting with big units, quite possibly won't have any left to bring them back to.
Yep.
And so it does mean you're wanting to have units of 20 plus anyway. I like it. It's good. It's like a slightly better version of Clan Rats. It's D3 plus 3 instead of just D3.
Yep.
It's not on anything impactful. It's not on your Bestigor or anything like that, but it is free models. It will take objectives from people. It'll catch them out. You know, if you roll the 3, then it's 6 models straight back on, stick them all on the objective, and steal it. It's probably one of the stronger ones.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So yeah, I like it. Bringing back minimum 4 models to each of these units at the end of each Battle Shock phase, I think is great. But as you say, yep, the unit still has to be alive in order for that to happen. These units are not the most defensive units that are going to stick around, so your opponents could just wipe them, and then you have no sub-faction allegiance, no sub-faction ability there at all. So there's definitely pros and cons.
Armies that are doing tick damage to you, you know, the little splash damage here and there, it just negates it completely. So there's no point doing D3 damage to them because they're getting D3 plus 3 back.
Exactly.
So it is very useful. It is very strong. But if only Bestigor was on that list.
Oh, yeah, indeed. So yeah, cool. So that's All Herd. We've then got Dark Walkers. So they've got Shadow Beasts. At the end of your movement phase, you can pick one friendly Dark Walker's Gore, Ungor, or Ungor Raiders unit that is wholly within 9 inches of the battlefield edge. Say that it will slink into the shadows. If you do so, remove that unit from the battlefield and set it up again wholly within 9 inches of the battlefield edge and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So basically a little teleport. At the end of your movement phase, they can just go from one battlefield edge to wherever you need them. But again, it's within that battlefield edge. What's your thoughts on this one?
It's another good one. Again, it's just the lesser Gore herds. So it's useful. It's going to allow you to steal objectives. It's going to annoy your opponent that you're not where you left them. And they'll come on from ambush, steal an objective one turn. Next turn they'll be over the other side of the board trying to steal a different objective, and you'll end up running around trying to catch them, unless you've got a lot of mobile units. Is it good enough? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We will see.
Remains to be seen. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's just you have to.
Board edge to board edge. You know, a lot of other armies can just teleport from anywhere they like to anywhere they like.
That has been the thing that I think always kind of frustrated me with beasts, was the fact that a lot of their movement shenanigans were tied to the board edges. So yeah, I think this could maybe be quite limiting dependent as well on that, for sure. I think we might have lost John again, so we'll carry on. We'll soldier on. Oh, he's back. Hello, hello there, John. How are we doing? Yeah, we were just saying there that kind of further to your point, the thing that frustrated me from their last book was the fact that a lot of their movement shenanigans were always tied to board edges. That just, and a lot of armies, they're just, as you say, they're just not, skink, like Seraphon skinks, they just teleport one, boop, they just move to wherever they want. So it's, I think we'll see.
Being tied to a board edge, the fact that it's only one unit, I find slightly frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
As you say, Seraphon can pick one unit from anywhere to go anywhere, and the beasts get one unit from a board edge to a board edge.
Yeah.
It's just a lesser version, but it's still really strong, and it's still going to annoy your opponent.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, moving on, we've got Gavespawn. Now I think this was the one that was quite a big choice from the last book. I think quite a few people used to take this quite a bit. The fact that you could take spawn, and then the spawn made your units better. You had some kind of you had quite a lot of tricks and shenanigans around spawn, which was kind of nice. Now for this one, they've changed it quite a bit. They now have this thing called gibbering congregations. So the Gavespawn, as it says, the Gavespawn assemble congregations of loathsome Morgurite chaos spawn, and so you can include gibbering congregations in your army. Now this is like a unique kind of unit entry that you can put in. We'll maybe kind of look, let's just go through it right now, shall we? I've got the points here at the end. So as you can see here, we've got, it's 230 points to get 3 of these chaos spawn. That basically fills out your battle line requirements, and as it says there, it can only be included in a Gavespawn army, and they're taken as a set, but you set them up as separate units. So is this literally just so you have the cheapest way to fill out your battle line? Is that
I guess it is. I don't really understand this one myself. Nope. It's 3 chaos spawn, as you say. They come as a unit, but then they act independently from there. They're okay. They're nothing terribly exciting. They're not terribly expensive.
Yeah.
Means you can spend your points on other things, but they're only a 5 wound chaos spawn.
And it's also only 10 points cheaper than just taking 3 units of Ungors. As your minimum battle line.
They are better than Ungors, but not at scoring objectives.
No, I
don't understand this one.
I genuinely don't see the appeal for
this. There must be a reason, and I don't get it yet.
Yeah.
Somebody out there will work it out.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It beats me, that's for sure. So yeah, cool.
So that one's not floating my boat.
Yep. So let's go, and we've got one last one, which is the Quake Fray, which I just love the sound of. As soon as I heard this, I was like, "Oh, cool!" I don't think it's going to be the strongest thing, right? But just having giant things running around is great. So we've got Living Idols of Ruin. So friendly Quake Fray Sigor units, they gain the Priest keyword. So you make what used to be probably your most useless monsters in the game. You now make them priests. In addition, friendly Quake Fray Sigor priests know the following prayer in addition to any other prayers that they know. So they know Earth Shatterer. So they have it's a prayer, so they answer it on it's a value of 3, range of 12. If answered, pick an objective within range visible to the chanter. Each unit within 6 inches of that objective suffers D3 mortal wounds until your next hero phase. And when determining the number of models and units that are contesting that objective, that number must be halved, rounding down. This prayer has no effect on Beasts of Chaos units. Cool. So you've got
a great prayer. It's a great prayer.
You've got AoE mortals. Monsters will struggle to hold objectives against mass infantry, so you just half the number of models that are holding objectives as well. So I think I quite like that. Like in terms of what this subfaction is trying to do, in terms of trying to make your big stompy monsters better, I think it's doing a pretty decent job.
But you can only do the prayer once. That's
correct.
I'm not a massive user of priests, but same with spells, you can only do it once, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
So,
it's kind of one and done. It's on a 3. The only bonuses you're going to have to this is if you're somehow stood next to mystical to get a 2. But again, you don't have much reliability with that dice rolling for this to happen. Again,
it's a great prayer though. It's another one of those pick the objective and do D3. So you could have that. You could have the staff. You could have a realm spell. You could have the Thunderscorn spell. There's lots of ways of getting these flash mortal wounds, but it's one Cygor doing one prayer, and that's your whole faction's ability.
That's it, yeah, exactly.
Your other Cygor could be doing curse or something, I guess, but
yeah, cool. They can do curse, bless, all that jazz.
Heal.
But yeah, it sounds fun, but I don't think it's going to be that powerful. But yeah, anyway. So I think for me,
the 2 winners are the first 2.
Yeah, I personally quite like the All Herd, and I think that if you are taking into that, as you say, you're going to have to take your Gore, Ungore, whatever. You're going to have to take them in blocks of 20 minimum, I think, in order to get kind of use out of this. But yeah, Dark Workers, we'll see if maybe that's got a bit of kind of techie play. Teleports, movement wins games, right? So that could do. We'll very briefly touch on grand strats and battle tactics. Again, I'll try not to go through each and every one, but I think just for grand strats, there's the one. It's quite funny. We've still got protect the herdstone. So that's the one. Is it changed in any way, or is it still exactly the same as the last book, John?
I think it's exactly the same.
Yeah, no
Nothing
enemy
with
units
a 9 and still standing.
Still not destroyed. Yeah. The only other one that I quite like is probably desecrating Brayherd, which has been the battle end. You complete the grand strat if you control 2 or more objectives and they're contested by friendly Brayherd units. It's still quite a lot to bank on this in turn 5 to control 2, and it needs to be Brayherd.
If you're doing all herd, then maybe.
Yeah.
Brayherd includes your Bestigor, so you've got 4 options there,
awesome.
But you've got to have 2 objectives controlled by them. Possible.
Yeah. But I think probably if you're going for book grand strat, I mean, obviously we've got to take what's theirs in the GHB, which I think Beast could take really well into. But you've still got protect the herdstone, which is what a lot of people were taking anyway, and it's unchanged. So go for it. That's the only other one I could think of. Maybe the other 2 just seem to be a bit too many gates to get through, I think, in order to get theirs. That's the flanking warherd and the Age of the Beast. Do not like them. Cool. And then for battle tactics, what I was actually quite I don't know if pleased to see is the right word, but I think that there are doable battle tactics here.
There's a couple.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you just need, so if you can take into those and then make sure that you can do at least maybe 3 or 4 from the GHB as well, then I think you could go 5 for 5 on battle tactics with not much issue with beasts.
These days it's not that easy. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The couple for me that I quite like. So you've got in the shadow of the herdstone. So kind of like Sylvaneth, they've got this one as well. You have to kill something within range of a tree. This one you just have to kill a unit within range of your herdstone. Okay, which I think
it does mean that it tempts you to put your herdstone a bit further forwards, which makes protect the herdstone that little bit riskier.
Yeah.
But if people want to come and get your herdstone, they've got to come in range of giving you this chance at a battle tactic. So
yeah, for sure.
It's still a good one. I've done it many times, and there's certain games where you just never get the chance to do it.
Yeah, true.
Because people don't get there.
of course. And again, it's the 12 inches. Yeah, you need to kind of try and plan out where you're going to put your headstone to get that one. The other one I quite like is Rampaging Beast Herd. So you have to pick an objective controlled by your opponent. You complete this tactic if you control that objective at the end of this turn, and the objective is contested by a friendly unit that has 10 or more models. I think that's very doable.
Yep. You've missed out Bestial Wrath, and I just wanted to point out that it used to be in the first turn only. It's now the first or second turn, so they've given you an extra chance at it. I've never done it before because it was always the first turn, and my general was never going to be on the other side of the board in one turn.
Yeah, got you.
So
yeah, I think the other thing as well is I just don't like any battle tactics that require you to be within range of a unit at the end of the turn. Because there's so many ways for your opponent to just screw that. Just absolutely.
Yeah, you kill some models, they take them off, and you failed your tactic.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so even if you manage to get your general and those 2 units, you charge in, right? There's pile-in moves. There's just you've overkilled. Oops, I killed them all. You know that can happen as well, and you're just like, oh my god, like and it's just that. So I hate battle tactics that require to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't think it's one for me. But no, good point out that it has changed slightly as well. Yeah. The other one that I quite liked was
I liked Reduced to Savagery.
Oh, interesting. Pick an enemy unit in the battlefield. You complete this tactic if that unit is picked at the target of a heroic action from the Rituals of Ruin battle trait and is destroyed during this turn. So what we're thinking, like...
you don't have to kill them with the Ritual of Ruin. You just have to pick them as a target,
so pick as a
and then kill them with something else.
Destroyed during this turn. Ah, okay, yes. Okay, I like that. Good.
If you pick the D6 mortal wounds, you might kill them, but you might not. But if you then kill them with something else.
No, I like that. So yeah, when I was reading that, my brain just instantly went, you have to kill them with the ritual, but you don't. No, you're absolutely right. You just picked him with his ritual. No, so that is really good actually. Yeah, just as average, I like that a lot. And then the only other one I was gonna touch on was Aid of the Wilderness, which was have to
should be easy.
Yeah, 2 or more friendly Beasts of Chaos units in cover wholly outside your territory at the end of this turn. So again, two little min units maybe kind of shooting off and getting that. You could do that. So kind of along with that in your Desecrate. That could be kind of their job to do that. So yeah, I think quite a few doable tactics there, along with the GHB tactics as well. So yeah, I think Beast players should be pretty happy about that. And then yeah, we're just going to touch on the War Scrolls now. We got into the fun bit now. A lot of War Scrolls here, guys. There wasn't. I don't think there was anything that was squatted. Was there, John? Nothing was killed off, removed, everything being kept?
Nope, I think they're all still there.
Yep, all still there. And even some additions as well, because we've now got the Morgurite, whatever they're called, the Spawn, whatever. But yeah, so we're going to start off. So let's talk about him. So I don't know if he's going to be a mainstay in any lists, but he did get a brand new sexy model, which is lovely, and that is the new Beast Lord. So we've got 6 wound hero, 4 up save. He's got his paired Man Ripper axes, which is 5 attacks, 3s, -1, 2 damage. He does do mortal wounds on unmodified 6s to hit, which is quite nice. So every 6 to hit is 2 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. He's got Hatred of Heroes, which I think is obviously it's a really nice kind of synergy piece with your army. It does, however, require you to get this guy up close and personal and stuck in amongst it. And again, he's a 6 wound hero with 4 up save. So I don't like that. I don't like that, John. But we'll say what the ability is. So Hatred of Heroes. If this unit is within 3 inches of any enemy heroes, you add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Beasts of Chaos units while they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. So just get him to tag a little hero. Okay, you give it this massive bubble of +1 to hit and wound, which is huge. But it does mean that he's in amongst it.
The other thing is when you tie this in with the next ability, Call of Battle, if you chuck him in with a decent unit of Bestigor into a good enemy hero, you can fight with this guy and then fight with all the Bestigor, and they're all getting +1 to hit and wound.
Yep. For sure. So yeah, that's the Call of Battle there. So yeah, we're seeing simultaneous triggering, which we're actually seeing quite a bit now. So I remember it popping up in the Slaves. book with the lords on the mounted kind of the knights, the knight lords, those guys, the lord on Carcadrak and the lord on mount. Obviously we've seen in LRL Lumineth that they can simultaneously trigger 2 units to go. We've seen it in the new battalion as well, in the new GHB, where you've got the hero plus the retinue. Hero goes, then the retinue goes as well. So yeah, 100%. I think that there could definitely be play with that. It keeps him a bit more protected because, as you say, if he goes, then the other unit goes as well. They could maybe wipe that. Also here, if he's able to get the artifact for the 2-up strike last as well, I think could also save his bacon potentially.
Yeah, this is where that artifact comes into its own. I think you'll see the Beast Lord in a lot of armies.
That's good. I like that, because I think it's a really cool model. And yeah, I think I've always loved seeing kind of the Beast Lord in lists, even back in Fantasy. I think them, dotted in amongst your units, getting stuff done was pretty cool. So yeah, that's the Beast Lord there. Points wise, what we're looking at now for Beast Lord, so he is 145. 145 for him. Okay. So
before you go through the rest of the Warscrolls, it might be worth mentioning the changes to the stone.
Oh yeah, let's go for it. Yeah,
because it affects all of these Warscrolls.
Very, very true. So, yeah, we've got the Herd Stone. So, talk to us about what's changed, John.
So the Herd Stone has lost some abilities and had one of its main abilities changed slightly. So most people know about it giving off the rend across the battlefield. It used to be turns 1 and 2, everything got +1 rend, and turns 3 on, everything got +2 rend. It's now turn 1, there's nothing. Turns 2 and 3, there's +1 rend, and turns 4 and 5, there's +2 rend. Which, I'm fine with that. I think that works. You're still getting the cumulative rend. You're just having to wait a turn for it, and that's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think turn 1 not having a buff is okay. They got rid of one that I found massively important, which was the halving models that run from Battle Shock. And that was in a bubble that started at 12 inches from your Herdstone and grew by 6 inches per turn, per battle round. So that one I used a lot because it kept your low bravery Dragon Ogres for me from running away in droves. So you could have big units. You could afford to put a unit of 6 or a unit of 9 Dragon Ogres without losing 3 or 4 of them to Battle Shock. Yeah. There's so many things out there that stop you doing Inspiring Presence and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember in the game that we played at Masters, I'm so used to it as Nighthaunt, by shutting off Inspiring Presence with low bravery armies. I'm so used to it's like, right, I've not wiped a unit, but they'll just run now, yeah.
They'll go.
Yeah, but you were just like, well, no, actually, because then it's -1 there, and then it's halved, and it's
and rounded down,
and then rounded down. It's like, actually no, so only one guy left, and I'm like, oh, it's so annoying. So there's two left in that squad, and they're going to rally back now, and you're like. So yeah, that is pretty huge there. Yeah,
it was massively important. The rally's gone, so just 4 up in a bubble which grew from the Herdstone. It's gone, but the one that people aren't talking about enough is the Battle Shock reduction, because Beasts of Chaos have got low bravery.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, very good.
That rend buff from the stone, you've got to factor that into all these Warscrolls.
Yes. Absolutely.
So if this guy is rend 1, in turn 2 and 3 he's rend 2, and in turn 4 and 5 he's rend 3.
Yeah. So that's important to know. And do you think that the unit costs have that built in as well?
Very much so.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is slightly problematic because if someone does destroy your Herdstone, you've now got very expensive units that aren't as good.
That's very true. Yeah, and I remember hearing the stories at tournaments of people just going, "Oh, he's destroyed my Herdstone. Turn 2." Like that's me kind of game's a bogey type of thing. So yeah, no, absolutely good to know. Right, so Great Bray Shaman. Let's talk about him. Has he fallen from grace?
No. He's still quite cheap. I think he was 95 points or thereabouts now.
Let's just double check. Yeah, 95 for this point.
He's not essential anymore. You wanted him for that 3-inch buff to all Bray Herd units, which included Enlightened on disc, which was silly because it made them 19-inch move. So he's not essential anymore. He gets +6 inches to the range of the Rituals of Ruin. So that makes them quite good, because most of them were 12 inches. He's a wizard. Not better in combat, which is completely irrelevant. But, he's got access to a good set of spells. He's a cheap wizard, and he's got the Rituals of Ruin, and he's a deletion champion.
Yes.
You're going to need him.
Yeah.
For 95 points, you're going to take him.
Cool, got you. So even with the drop and him not getting the extra 3-inch move, I suppose you can just mitigate now with the command ability.
And he's got the devolve spell, which is quite interesting as well.
That is pretty cool, yeah. Now, usually things that you roll against bravery, I just switch off automatically and just go meh. But this one actually, because it's 3d6.
3d6.
Not your usual 2d6. This could actually be pretty good. And yeah, you're halving you're halving the distance of runs, retreats, normal moves, runs, retreats, and charges again. So you could get back to your old quarter charges here, John.
Could do. I'll get you.
You'll give it. I bet you will. But yeah, this guy's pretty cool. I think putting the extra 6-inch range to the heroic actions is pretty nice. I could definitely see this guy babysitting a unit of goats, dumping the D3s off into them to just fire out D6 mortals within 18 inches.
Yep. This kind of reminds me of an old Khorne slaughter priest.
Yeah.
Wandering around behind units, firing out.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was.
Blood boil.
What it was called.
Yeah.
Blood boil. That was it.
Was like, oh my god. Yeah, and it could stack. You could do multiple blood boils as well. I was like, oh sweet jeez.
I used to play like 3 slaughter priests against Liam Watt all the time. He hated me.
Oh god. Yeah.
So it kind of reminds me of that. So you can do that heroic action at 18 inches. You can cast a spell. You can be a Galician champion scoring objectives. Yeah, 95 points, I'll have him.
Yeah, no, pretty cool. I like that.
They gave him extra attacks, which I don't care about.
It's so funny. So was he used to be 1 attack?
I think so, yeah.
And now he's 3 attacks.
I don't know, he never fought. He never fought, he just got squashed occasionally.
3's 2 damage, man. It's not no slouch. Nothing to sniff at.
Yeah, he used to be 1 attack, 4s and 3s, rend 1, D3.
Rend 1, D3.
Now, he's got 2-inch range as well, which is crazy.
What a beat stick, man.
Yeah.
To the beat stick with his stick, right?
Yeah.
So there we go. That's your 2 heroes, which John, you seem to think that they're going to be staples in the list. So that's good to see.
Well, there's only 2 to choose from, so yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. And Galley champs, all good as well. So let's move on to our battle line, or first battle line unit. We've got Gors. Now, I've always loved Gors just in terms of their looks, the models. I really like them. They were a bit of a wet fish for quite some time. Didn't really do anything. Now, what's our thoughts on these boys?
They're still not wonderful. They're okay.
They're okay.
They're okay. You can give them the shield to give them a 4-up save. They've got a few attacks. They're going to get rend from the stone.
Yep.
In the same way that they always did. This Gore Stampede ability is interesting.
I quite like this potentially as just taking little 10 packs as just strike last missiles. Just sending them in, tagging that unit, trying to get the 3 up, make it strike last, so then my other actual stuff that hits hard can go in and do work.
You have to pick a target that has fewer models than yourself.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God, I didn't read that far, John. Oh, no.
So 10 packs going into big units doesn't work.
Okay, well then I'm completely off these guys now then.
But they are your battle line. In an all herd, they're returning D3+3. They've got the standard bearer, which gives them a 5-up rally.
There's your rally. There's your rally back there, John.
Yeah, it's only on grey herd units from their standard bearer, which means it's not tied into the herdstone. So actually, it's
cool.
It's probably a sensible way of them bringing it in.
Yep.
And 5-up doesn't upset too many people.
Doesn't break the game. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's only Gore that you're rallying back. It's not Dragon Ogres. It's not.
Yeah, my Dragon Ogres don't have standard bearers, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, you could model them on. But yeah.
Well, I could, but I don't think anyone will let me have that.
No, but yeah, that's.
They're okay, and they're a staple of your army. You're gonna use some.
Yeah, and yeah, with the 4-up base save, the most survivable
It
battle line you've got, right?
it does change their save characteristic to 4
Mm-hmm.
plus instead
Yeah,
of 5 plus,
yeah,
so
which
it's
is
not
nice.
+1. So you
Yeah.
can go to 3 up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think they're okay.
Yeah.
A unit of 20 of those, it's quite a lot of points in one place for a not particularly exciting unit, but in an all herd rallying on a 5 up as well, yeah, not bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Could definitely see them being objective campers, and then possibly to help out with the fight if they can get in and do that, do the strike last as well.
Yeah,
But yeah,
annoying to get rid of.
yeah, for sure. But no, thank you for highlighting that, John. Yeah, didn't see the bit of has to have fewer models, which is kind of strange. But yeah, okay, that's fine. Now we move on to another type of gore, the best gore, and it seems as if a lot of people have got these guys pegged as your main damage dealers in this army. So let's talk about best of gore. So now 2 wounds apiece now,
Yeah,
which is
big change.
huge change. The 4-up save base still, 6-inch move, bravery 7 for what it's worth. They have 2-inch reach on their display their axe. Was it always 2-inch, John, or was it 1
No,
inch?
no, that's
Ooh,
the biggest change really.
that's pretty
That
sweet.
and obviously the wounds, but
Yeah,
2-inch reach changes them to being 2 ranks now because they're on
nice.
32 mils.
Correct. Yep, absolutely, which is huge. But it's got this kind of similar profile: 2 attacks, 3s, 3s -1 damage. Did they drop an attack here? Is that right? Did they used to be
No,
3, or were they always
they
2?
they were always 2, but they used to get +1 attack if they charged.
All right.
I
Okay.
think it was something like that. I've got it here. So they've always been 2 attacks. Yeah, +1 attack if they charged, and +1 to hit if they were attacking a unit of 10 or more. They've just
Okay.
gone straight to 3+ now, where they used to be 4+.
Oh, of course, that's true. Yeah, yeah. So they've got the +1 kind of baked in now, which is nice. They do still get in a +1 attack, but only if the unit that they're attacking has received the all-out defense command. So it's quite nice. It's actually it's hurting your opponent for trying to be a bit more
Yeah,
survivable into them,
it's
which is cool.
I like it. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, I quite like that.
And will you remember it at times? You'll get
Possibly.
used to it.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you better, because I think Rend 2 from turn 2 onwards, and potentially Rend 3 from turn 4 onwards, I think your opponent's army is going to be wanting to all out defense against these guys, which is just
Yeah.
making you better. These
It
also
effectively gives you an extra rend because your opponent
yeah,
now doesn't do all out defense.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's,
pretty
it's an extra bonus rend.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. They also have the 5-up rally from their standard bearer as well, which is cool. I like that. They have the musician, which is the +1 to run rolls, which all the gore musicians, they all give them the +1 to run and charge rolls. And they get a nice little debuff if they get unleash held upon, -1 to
Yeah,
wound for that, which is cool.
I
I
like
like that.
this. I
Yeah.
like it. It means it's easier for them to get in. Yeah, I like it. It's a nice little unusual rule.
Yeah, absolutely. I have heard talk of people kind of list kind of pie in the sky thinking
Math hammer.
of taking a unit of 30 of these boys, souping them up to the high heavens, and then just sending them on in and doing a heinous amount of damage, and kind of just one big concentrated place. What's your thoughts on that as a play style, as a list choice?
No,
No.
no.
John says no.
God says no. No.
Why no,
Well,
John?
a unit of 30 Bestigor is 660 points.
hmm
Okay, that's more than most things in the game. Yes, it's a lot of wounds, but they'll still die. You need to get a whole host of things to go off at the right moment to make it into this nuclear bomb that people have mentioned online, and the chance of it coming off. And as somebody joked, you'll get all these things off once and you'll kill 10 skinks. So
You'll kill that screen. And then
yeah, you'll kill that screen. It's just not worth
hmm
putting all of that tech into it, because your entire army will be on one move, and unless you hit their entire army, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. And as Liam T's also seen in the chat there, plus the points invested for the things that you need to buff them up. So
Yeah, so it's 660 just for the unit. You need your Beast Lord and everything else, and you need to invest your artifact and your command trait, and
2
just no,
wizards. Yeah.
just
Okay. Yep.
don't do it.
Yeah. So it's a lot for, as you say, for to press that nuclear button. But you need a lot of things to go right in order to then that happen. And yeah, your opponent could just completely bust that plan by putting 10 Hobgrots out in front of you, or 10 whatevers, just to go, cool, you charge that, and then I'll just kill your entire unit back.
Or they did a redeploy and rolled a 6.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. So yeah, but yeah, so Bestigors, still like the Bestigors, John?
I do. I think they're just, for me, they're slightly overpriced. Now, other people might not agree, but I think most things in this book are slightly overpriced, in my opinion.
Yeah. Certainly looks that
we'll
way.
keep going through them all, but I just feel going 220 points for 10.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yes, they're 2 wounds each, but they're only a 4-up save and only 7 brave. It's quite pricey.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of things out there.
No, I agree, 100%. And I think a lot of people, that as soon as this book came out, their initial thoughts was, oh my, they went up in points. Whew.
I've written or tried writing a number of lists, and they're all okay, but they're just too small, because you don't really have enough. You don't have the summoning anymore. They're still not massively survivable. Is there anything in this book with better than a 4+ save? I don't think there is anywhere.
Nope.
And they all got +1 bravery in this book compared to the old book, but they lost the Herd Stone's ability.
It's not the same, is it? It's not the same.
So the whole army is still fragile, and it's now expensive where it used to be cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Bestigor, I like them. I think you are going to see them. You're going to see a lot of them. But to me, it's just a little bit too pricey.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I know Cara, she's saying Bestigor every time. She loves a Bestigor, we know that. Absolutely. We've got Delta GT0, he's asking, do you prefer Zangor over Bestigor, maybe as your beatstick unit?
Zangor are 3 wounds, I believe. They've got a lot more attacks. They're going to get the same rend levels of Bestigor. They're very expensive as well.
I was going to check that. Oh yeah, no, still 2 wounds, John. Yeah, 2 wounds in the Zangor.
Are they? Okay.
It's Zangor Enlightened.
We're looking at, yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, so you've got Enlightened on foot or on disc. Because I do know that people were running 10 packs of Zangors just for the volume of attacks. 53 attacks out of that one unit of 10. Which I know that was doing a lot of work in bounty hunters. We don't have that anymore. But whether or not maybe that could be, they could obviously still get the spell cast on them for double damage, for +1 damage. So yeah, maybe you could.
I like
see that.
Bestigor, and I'm going to use them. My whole thing is that things are just a little bit too pricey, that it means your army is just that bit small.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So if you start building up a big unit of Bestigor, then that's a lot of your points in one place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so moving on. I'll try and pick up the pace. Sorry, because we're kind of we're along on time. So in terms of Ungors and Ungor Raiders, what are we thinking for our? So these are 2 other battle line options, I believe, as well.
Raiders aren't.
Raiders aren't. Sorry. So it's the Ungors and Gors are your base battle line. Out of those 2, what are you taking for your base battle line? Do you think?
Well, Ungors
mixture or
cheap. Probably a mixture, and that's probably as much down to the models I have available as anything else. Ungors are useful. They're relatively cheap. There's now got a shooting attack as one of their options, which they didn't have before.
Oh yeah, I like that. Wee short spears. I really like their Fleet of Hoof ability. Their ability to just retreat out of combat. It's pretty cool if your opponent multi-charges.
Like the old skinks, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And just so you just move that back. You could still maintain an objective. You could obviously just keep an asset live on the board. I think that's quite cute. So you're thinking possibly a mixture there for your battle line.
I think a mixture.
Yeah. Okay.
I quite like the Ungor scroll.
Yeah.
Because you're not really looking to do damage with those units. You're looking to take objectives and be annoying.
For sure.
And if possible, rally them, or if you're all hurt, add them back.
Yeah. Absolutely. The other one as well, so Ungor, very interesting scroll, I think, these guys, the Ungor Raiders. The fact that they can shoot while off the board, once per game, They just pick a point on the battlefield and they can shoot into the closest point. Now, this wouldn't supersede the Galician champions' ability to hide, would it? Because that still makes them untargetable if they're within an inch of battle line.
It must target the closest enemy unit to that point. I think that one's going to require an FAQ.
Yeah, because, well, I know in 40k, if it's the case where you must target that thing that is also untargetable due to other rules, then you just can't shoot anything. So I'm wondering here if it's the case where because your galley champs within an inch of battle line, which makes them untargetable by shooting rules, this technically is a missile attack, it's a shooting attack, then it means that you wouldn't be able to target that unit. I don't know.
Well, first of all, this isn't 40k.
That's very true. That's very true, John.
So I have mixed feelings as to what the answer to this will be. I think it does require an FAQ. I could see that going either way.
Yeah.
And I think either way would be fair. I don't really know which way it'll come down, and I wouldn't particularly argue against whichever way it went on. I think it's a great ability.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your question.
No, sorry. What I was going to say was, would you take a pack of 30 of these to unleash 60 bow shots anywhere on the board? Is that something that you would take into?
No. Because you could do exactly the same with 3 units of 10.
Yep.
No, they don't need to be in 1 unit to do it. It's not it's a once per battle per unit.
Yes, and it's also start of movement phase, so there's no benefit.
So you get shooting again.
Yeah.
In the shooting phase. So each unit gets to fire twice in that turn.
Yes. Cool. That's pretty cool.
Because you shoot at the start of your movement phase from off board, you then deploy at the end of the movement phase, and then shoot in the shooting phase. So in the turn you're coming on, you get to fire twice, once that your opponent cannot screen you out of.
Yeah.
Now, whether that rule for the Galician champions stops it, we will find out in due course. But, there's no actual real benefit to being in a big unit there. You cannot give them all-out attack or anything.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that because it's the start of the movement phase. Yeah, you've got no benefit there. The only thing I was going to ask was, what was I going to ask? Oh, I forgot now. I'll maybe come back to me. But yeah, so we can shoot twice with these boys, which is pretty cool.
Just that once though, but yeah.
You can. So that once per game, shoot the movement phase, start movement phase off the board, then come on, then you shoot in the shooting phase as well. So yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Do they get the benefit to rend from the Hearthstone?
Only with their melee weapon.
Only melee. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. It's melee attacks only.
So yeah, as Cara had said there in the chat there, look, you could get quite a lot of shots here, but it is still Ungor Raider shots. It's 4s, no rend, it's 1 damage.
They're 2 shots each, 4s and 4s. I mean, it's not terribly exciting.
Yep.
But that ability to do it off the board, which you cannot be screened out of, is quite good. If, say, you had 3 units, that's 30 guys, that's 60 shots, that you could pick 1 point on the board edge and do all 60 from it, and then bring your units on in other places to steal objectives and be annoying later.
Yeah.
And you might have killed something important.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But they're quite expensive.
Yeah. For 6 up save, bravery 5, 2 shots.
4s and 4s.
4s and 4s, 2 shots each. Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, so that's all the kind of smaller gore. We now go into things like the Doom Bull and the Bull Gore. So do we see play in either of these 2 things?
Some people will love them. I think they're okay. I don't think they're wonderful. I don't have many models for them, and the ones I do are from the 1980s. I love them, but yeah, they've got +1 to charge, but so do the Bestigor and so on.
Yeah.
So they come off from a board edge. It's a 7-inch charge, and they've got impact hits, but they're okay.
Yeah, I think the impact hits are nice. I know that it's for you roll a dice for each model in your unit, and it's on a 2 up to 2 mortals. So that's then making you want to take slightly bigger units of them. So maybe in the 6s, maybe even the 9-packs, because you could make them battle
Coherency
lines,
then
right?
becomes a problem.
Yeah, the fact they've all got 2-inch reach. Apart from their horns, that's the only kind of bad thing there. That you're losing some attacks there. What I do quite like is the blood greed. So the unmodified hits of 6 just do that number of mortal wounds. So it kind of again it makes you maybe want to take the pair of the pair of axes. So you get 4 attacks each. It's the higher number of attacks you can get, so the more chances to spike some 6s for mortals. And I do also quite like the Doombull's ability, his Slaughterer's Call, which allows you to make a charge in the combat phase. So
that's quite interesting.
Which is cool. So no Unleash Hell there. And also things like Monstrous Rampages, which trigger at the end of the charge phase, can't have then happened onto that unit as well. So yeah, I think
they do, largely speaking, hit on 4s.
That is a big downside, yeah. They hit on 4s. If you do go that pair of cleaving axes, they're 4 wounds and a 5-up save. Yeah,
they're okay. They're swingy. They're fun. They'll do wonders for you one game and rubbish the next game.
Yeah, I still
if
can't.
You can handle that swinginess, then go for it.
I still can't quite believe that their big great axes. It's still only 2 attacks each. Like, surely that should have been 3. Just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
But they at least hit on 3s.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, I love it. The big massive axes that are hard to wield, they hit on 3s. Everything else hits on 4s. Jesus.
Well, I guess once it starts going in a direction, nothing stops it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm not hugely fussed by these boys. But yeah,
I wish I liked them more.
Yeah, that's true. Liam T did raise a point saying that that you could put these guys into the Gleason Veterans Battalion to get them fighting in 2 ranks, but I don't know if you're going to wanna. To be honest. And then we move on to one of the last kind of Warherd guys, the Gorgon. I wouldn't say he was a very popular monster in the old book. He does have a new Monstrous Rampage, which is Feast on Flesh, and yet that improves the rend characteristic of this unit's melee weapons by 1 until the end of the combat phase, which is pretty nice. And in addition, until the end of the following combat phase, if any enemy models are slain by attacks made by this unit, you can heal up to 3 wounds allocated to this unit after all of his attacks have been resolved. So you can heal him, you can improve his rend by 1. The Herdstone also does that as well. Do we see a place for this guy in any of your lists?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. That's probably as far as I'll go. He did have a Monstrous Rampage kind of like that on the White Dwarf update, but it was once per battle per Gorgon. And whereas now you can do it every time.
Yeah.
So, and I can't remember if the wording is exactly the same, but it was similar.
Mm-hmm.
But he can heal from his Monster Rampage, and he can heal from Swallow Whole.
Yes.
So he does have reasonable healing going on.
Yeah, and that's 3 models that he could potentially swallow. I mean, depending on how many wounds they have, that could be quite good. Yeah.
So he could do respectable healing.
Yeah. 7 attacks. Was it 7 attacks? 4s, 2s, -1, which go up to -2 or -3, turn 2, if you use the Monstrous Rampage as well. Damage 3 is not bad. 2 attacks, D6. He does hit in 4s, but again, it's mitigated with an all-out attack. This guy could do some work, I reckon. 16 wounds and a 5-up save, though.
On paper, they do a lot of damage. On the tabletop, they never have done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they did always suffer from having an old damage table, which was like 0 to 2 and then 3 to 4 and so on. So at least now it's 0 to 6 before they start scaling. So they'll do more than they ever did, but they never did anything. So we will see.
Do more than nothing, and they also it's 240 points as well, for a 16 wound 5-up save monster as well.
Yeah.
So
they just died before, and I think they still will.
Indeed.
Because the healing, you need to survive long enough to get the healing ticking.
Yeah. No, for sure. Okay, let's look at some old staples then, Johnny. You can tell me if they're still going to be in the new book. Dragon Ogre Shaggoths and Dragon Ogres as well. The Drogers.
My old friends.
Hello old friends. Are the old friends going to still be seeing play, or will the old friends be getting put on the shelf?
They'll probably still see some play, but not nearly as much.
Okay.
The Dragon Ogre Shaggoth has changed quite a lot. Sorry. They've added a shooting attack, which to me is thematic but pointless. 2d6 attacks, 3 up, -1 damage. You know,
Yeah.
it's what, 2 damage to a 4-up save, something like that, average. Kind of not really worth bothering about. He's a wizard, and he's got a great spell lore, so that's still worth it.
Tick.
He's now got a 4-up ignore spell, so that's great. Beneath the Tempest got better. It used to be on a 2-up, you healed 1 wound or inflicted 1 wound. It's now D3.
Yep.
So those are better. The summon lightning spells changed. It heals D3 wounds. It used to give you reroll wounds on a unit of Dragon Ogres in addition to healing D3. And now you can heal D3 on D3 different units. He is still a 10 wound 4-up hero monster. So he still dies.
Yeah.
There's nothing particularly survivable about him. And if he is your big beatstick hero, then no, that's not wonderful. And he's now 275 points.
Why is his axe the same damage as the Beast Lord's tiny axes?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Stormforce, that's 5 attacks, 3 Cs, rend 1, 2 damage. What?
He used to be 3 attacks and 3 damage. So he's slightly less swingy. He's more consistent.
I still feel like it wouldn't have been a crazy to give him 3 damage on those 5 attacks.
I don't know why he's 275 points.
Bro, that is a big old price tag. Yeah.
It is a big old price tag. A 4-up ignore spells must cost a lot of points.
True, but as you say, he's a 4-up save, 10 wound hero. He's just gonna die, right?
They always just die. They either stand around behind people, being a general, issuing commands and stuff, and being a monster on objectives, or they go in, fight once, and get squashed.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed in the points cost of him. You can't even use them, buy a couple of them to get the spells off the lore because they're so expensive.
Yeah.
I'll still play one just because I love them, but I'm annoyed at their price.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so Shaggoths, that's them. Dragon Ogres, so no more rallying. There's no more bounty hunters.
Nope.
So what
their Warscroll got better.
Yeah, so they're damage 2 base now, yeah? Whereas were they always damage 1, is that right?
They had various weapon options before.
Okay.
So you had 3 different types of weapons you could pick. Mine were modeled with 2 hand weapons, so that's just, I used them all the same, to make life easy for my opponents. So now they don't have any weapon options, they just get the 1 shot. It's better though, it's now 5 attacks where it was 6, still 3s and 3s, but they gave it a point of rend and they moved it to damage 2.
Okay.
So it is just flat out better.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it, problems with the Dragon Ogres is they used to get a Thunderscorn move in the start of the hero phase of
That's
a D6
right.
inches, and that's been taken away.
Mm-hmm.
These guys have got the improved Beneath the Tempest as well. So on a 2-up, they're healing D3 or inflicting D3, so that's good. If they made a charge, they're on modified hit rolls. Rolls of 6 are wound automatically, so they're Night Haunt on the charge.
Yeah.
So they're a much better Warscroll, but they're also 245 points for 3, which is or 225, I think it might be. Sorry.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we'll double check.
That's a big rise.
Let's see. Dragon Ogres, 225 for 3. Battle line if Shaggoth is general, so yeah. That's
the problem for me is that they're bravery 6, and you don't have that hardstone reduction. So now you can't really afford to put them in big units. You can't. A unit of 6 is just dangerous now. At that price, it's 450 points, and if you lose 1 or 2, you may well lose another 1 or 2. I think units of 3 are pretty good. They've got a 2-inch range on their weapons. They've got decent hitting power, coupled with the Herdstone's buff to rend. They're pretty good in units of 3. They're just a lot of points for it.
They are indeed. They are indeed for 15 wounds on a 4-up save.
15 wounds on a 4-up save with some bravery of 6.
Yeah. Okay.
They're good. Are they great? No.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, how the mighty hath fallen. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, we now kind of move on to what I feel is like the kind of the menagerie of the chaos, the Beast of Chaos book. We've got loads of different kind of types of monsters and gribblies here. So, so we've got things like Jabberslythe, Cockatrice, Chimera. We've got the Sigor here as well. Any of those units that I've just mentioned there, do you think are worthwhile?
Yes.
Oh, good, perfect.
Jabberslythe, I'm not particularly interested in.
Okay, that's fair.
He's got a few things going on, like mortal wounds back on a 4+ when he's hitting melee, but overall, he doesn't really excite me. Cockatrice was famous because people were taking like 10 of them, and they had shooting attacks. It went from, I think it was D6 mortals before on a 4+.
Just straight D6, yeah.
It's now 4+ is D3, so
yeah.
I don't think we'll see the spamming of them anymore. They're still not bad.
Yeah,
it's also
it's also at the start of the combat phase a unit within 6, and I believe was the mortals from the last one not like a ranged attack at quite.
It was a shooting attack at 12-inch range. I think.
So this is just But it does say, in addition of any mortal wounds caused are allocated to a unit to the end of that phase, only unmodified hit rolls of 6 for attacks with melee weapons by that unit score a hit.
So
it's very swingy, but if you go all 4 up on that unit, then it's only their 6s can hit.
And you double attacks if you charge, so you'll go from 5 attacks to 10 attacks.
Yeah.
All of which are at 2 damage. So they're okay.
It's okay. What's the Cockatrice point sitting at here? 105.
Oh.
105 for a 8 wound.
Not a monster anymore.
Not a monster, no, just 8 wounds and a 6-up save. Okay.
Yeah, they'll die. They'll do something. They're okay.
Yep. What about the Chimera? Any
Chimera has changed hugely. It doesn't look like it, but it actually has. It used to have a D6 mortal wound attack. It's now a D3. That's quite a big difference, but it still has it where it just does it automatically from 12 inches away.
Okay.
So that's still good. But the big change really is that it doesn't have a damage table anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It used to have the most god-awful damage table on the planet. So it was only good if it had not taken any damage. And then it just scaled abysmally from there. And now you don't need to fight first with your Chimera. It used to be if it charged in, you had to fight first with it.
Oh, really?
Because otherwise you'd get attacked and you'd end up either dead or on 2 wounds and doing very little back. Now it stays great all the way to the end. It doesn't get the +2 to charge anymore, though.
Right. Okay. But it does get, with its monstrous rampage, it can get up to 19 attacks in the combat phase.
So that one came in with the White Dwarf, so it's had that for a while.
Yeah.
Everything's on a 4+ to hit. So if you're near a hero who can give you +1 to hit, then great. But yeah, 19 attacks, and a lot of them are at 3 damage or D6 damage and stuff. So it really, it's hard. But it's also swingy.
It's also swingy. And again, it also is. It's a 12 wound monster on a 5-up save. For, just check the points.
185 now.
185.
It used to be 210 or 220 or something like that. Yeah, so it's come down a little bit.
Okay.
Losing that damage table means that you can afford probably to use it as your second fighter. It used to be if your Chimera charged in and your Bestigor charged in, you were like, oh, which one do I fight with first? Because the other one's getting wiped out. So you had to go with your Chimera to get something good out of it, which means your Bestigor, you had 3 of them left when it was their turn to fight. Now the Chimera doesn't have a damage table and your Bestigor have 2 wounds. So,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It could probably last in it. So even on 1 wound, it's still hitting at all those brackets. That's pretty cool. I like that. Okay, so Chimera, Sigor.
Sigor, I like the Sigor finally.
Well, Yay! Fantastic! Finally, an addition where the Sigurd is likable. Why do we like
Yeah.
him now, John?
Well, he's got a bit better fighting. So he's now got 7 attacks, 3+2+, -1, 2 damage. So they were rubbish before. What did he? He used to have 8 attacks, 4+3+, -1, 1 damage.
Okay.
So he's better at fighting. It's bolder. It's got more consistent damage if he's unharmed. But it's this Soul Eater ability. Well, there's 2 abilities. His Soul Eater's the one I really like, though. Each time an enemy wizard within 30 inches of a friendly unit with this ability successfully casts a spell, and that spell is not unbound, the caster suffers 1 mortal wound.
Oh, cool. So you not even.
So,
it used to be you had to unbind it, is that right, with this guy, and then they suffer the mortals?
yeah, there's some. Yeah, when you unbound a spell, he did damage. But now if he's standing in the middle of the board, if your opponent casts any spells, they're taking mortal wounds.
And he just does it. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
The Tzeentch aren't going to particularly like that.
Absolutely not. Cool. Okay, I quite like that. And then he's got Consume Endless Spell, which is a monstrous rampage, and that's just, basically, you just abandon a spell within 6 inches of him. You just have to beat the cast. Is that beat the? Yeah, beat the caster value. That's you. You eat it.
Then he heals as well.
Equal to the 2d6 roll. Pretty cool.
So even if people are trying to shoot him off with small weapons and so on, to slowly get rid of him, if you just you can eat your own endless spell.
Yeah, that's true.
Doesn't have to be an enemy one.
That's very true.
So if you cast out something easy.
Yeah, 16 wounds as well, not bad.
Yep.
It's only a 5-up save.
I like him.
16 wounds.
We'd only have one.
Just
I think one, just park him in the middle of the table and start doing that plink damage. So combined with all the things we talked about earlier in the book, could be killing those Galician champions.
Absolutely.
They're hard to get to.
Could be a nice tasty priest in that Quake Free as well, John.
Yeah.
It's Liam Tees.
There's lots of little things going on.
Lots of little things. Yep.
As I said at the start, I think it's a very interesting book.
No, for sure.
By people in cardigans with cups of tea. In the room next door to those interns with their keg of beer who wrote the Gits book.
Yeah, love it. So yep, cool. We've got Thomas Backhurst in the chat saying hello. Hi Thomas, how are we doing? So let's see, how many more Warscrolls have we got here, John? It just feels like they're going on forever. Right, let's just very quickly.
These ones haven't changed much.
Well, I was going to say, if we just rattle through, so I'm guessing Zangor, Enlightened and Enlightened on Disc, they must just all be the same Warscrolls that are in the most. I think
they're the same Warscroll. The points went up for the Enlightened on Disc.
Okay, fair enough. But I think could still see some play, definitely.
Still good, they're just now really quite expensive.
Yep. You've now also got the Morgurite Chaos Spawn. So we'll just very briefly touch on them. They get D6 attacks each. What's that? 3s, -1, 2 damage.
Shooting attack.
That's shooting, wow. And then their Bizarre Mutations, 8 attacks in combat, 3s, no rend, 1 damage. They can run and charge, and they subtract 1 from the attack's characteristics of weapons used by enemy units where they're within 1 inch of this unit. So you get them in amongst the enemy, then they're subtracting 1 from the attack's characteristic.
They're only 5 wounds and a 5-up save.
Okay. Yes, we already said...
I think this is a throwback to sort of old fantasy. There was a old Nurgle-esque Beastman hero wizard. It was Morgul or something.
Yeah.
And he was a sort of a rotting guy who left a slime trail behind him. So I think they've sort of thrown a little bit of old lore back in there somewhere.
Love it. Yeah. I remember that that guy Morgur, I think. Yeah, he was pretty cool in the lore.
I think that's where this comes from.
Got you. But yeah, we've both kind of admitted that we have no idea what this scroll's about. So moving on. We've got Skyfires in here as well as part of your kind of Zangor contingency, which are seeing play, and I think still will. We've got Zangor Shamans, who also could be a decent wee pick for you as well, but looks like it's pretty much the exact same from the Tzeentch tome. We've got Warhounds, which are now 2 wounds apiece.
Yeah, they got better.
Yeah, 2 wounds apiece, 10-inch move, bravery 4, mind you, and they can, when they make a charge roll, you can change one of the dice to a 4, so you're always charging 5 minimum.
Now they're 3+2 wound. They used to be 4+.
there you go. They're getting better in combat as well. But yeah, I think these guys potentially just for screens and objective holders, you could maybe see play for them. Yeah.
Went up in points as well, though, as
Oh,
everything did.
yeah.
So they become a more expensive screen, but
Mm-hmm.
they are better. They're better.
Yeah. No, for sure. You've got regular Chaos Spawn. I'm going to pass on that. You've got Chaos Gargants.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, again, one of these ones just meh.
Well, they've got an ability if they're near a friendly basic chaos hero, they get +1 attacks, which means that those butt and mighty kick or go up to 2 attacks. But yeah,
Cool.
still a bit.
Yeah.
Eh.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. Still very meh. Now we've got Grashrak. I did see quite a few folk taking him because he had quite a nice Warscroll spell, plus he had his ablative wounds and his despoilers. But in the year of the Galley Champs, do we see people taking unique characters now, when you could just take a normal Bray Shaman?
He's like a Bray Shaman. He's got the +6 inches to his Rituals of Ruin.
Mm-hmm.
Got a different Warscroll spell, and then he gets his friends with him. But I would take the Bray Shaman to get the Gleason Champion part.
Yeah.
Become battle tactics.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed. We've still got these guys. I can't believe we've still got these guys. Tuskar chariots, Centaurs, Razor Gores.
Centaurs have changed.
Oh, okay. For the better.
I like Centaurs now.
Hey.
They got a bit different. So they're 4-up save. I don't think they were. I think they were 5-up before.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Got a shooting attack, but their Drunken Revelry, which used to be a complete liability, now means they ignore the first 2 wounds or mortal wounds in the combat phase.
Okay, cute.
If any models run to Battle Shock, you roll a dice, and on a 2-up they don't run. Now being drunk is great.
Being drunk is super. They run from nothing now because they're just so steaming.
Yeah,
and
they're
then
drunk all now.
Yeah, and then
+1 attack if you're within 9 inches of an objective that you do not control.
Yeah, that's quite cool. So that's
so they'll go 6 attacks each.
6 attacks each. Their spears are 2-inch range. 3's -1 or -2 on damage, and then close. Yeah, I could definitely see these guys doing some work into your kind of lighter infantry, your screens, things like that. Yeah, I
quite expensive now, I think.
They can retreat and charge, the standard bearer, which is nice. Yeah.
And they get +1 to charge.
+1 to charge as well. Yep, absolutely. Cool. So Centaurs we like. Tuskar.
14-inch move.
Yeah.
Scores Razor Gores.
Well, I was going to say the Tuskar Chariots. Is that a pass on that as well?
Well, they're okay.
They're okay.
They've got ogre charges effectively. Got quite a few attacks. They'll get the rend bonus. Not bad.
Okay, cool. And then
I've looked at their price.
That's fine. We can double check that as well. Razor Gores, horrendous model.
Horrendous model.
Any play with these boys?
There was something on them. If they're near Ungor and they made a charge move, they get double attacks. So they could go up to a lot of attacks each, but still, they don't do anything for me, really.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Slangar Fiendbloods.
Yeah.
These guys were the kind of butt of the joke of the Slaanesh book, the Hedonites of Slaanesh tome. The brand new model, lovely models by the way, absolutely horrendous. But now they've seen a slight change as well. So they've now got kind of maybe slightly better quality attacks, 2 damage attacks now, with their claws and with the gilded weapon. They can fight twice. The second time they do though, however, it's strike last effect, so they might take a pacing off something before they actually get to do their second strike.
Got that ability that like the original Iron Jaws had, where if you hurt them, they move towards you, or they moved.
So yeah, if they're more than 9 inches More than inches, they can go d6 as well. I think that might be a typo here, John. It says on my screen here that they have 9 wounds each. I don't think.
I've got that too. I don't think that's right.
I don't think that's right. I think maybe 4. Maybe I think maybe.
Maybe 3 or
Is
4.
what they were at, 3 or 4. Yeah, exactly. With the 5-up save as well, 8-inch move. But I think they have gotten better than what the previous scroll was.
Better.
Definitely.
I don't know if they'll see the board yet,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. But yeah, very cool models. I like them a lot. And then the last Warscrolls we've got to look at then is the spells. So you've still got your Wildfire Taurus, your Raven and Direflock, and your Doomblast Dirgehorn. So any of these are we taking?
me, the Direflock still.
Okay.
Taurus is unchanged. It's okay, but you probably won't cast it. Direflock, it used to be a really weird spell where you cast it somewhere on your own side of the board, then walked onto it, and it effectively teleported somewhere else on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Now it moves like any other predatory spell,
Yeah.
so it's a lot more straightforward to use.
I kind of like that now.
Yeah.
I think I wasn't that fussed with the old rules, so I think
Well,
that now is okay.
The old one was really good that in turn 1 you cast it on your own board edge and just stayed away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you needed it, all you had to do was walk onto it.
Yeah.
And then it would teleport to where you wanted it. So it meant that you could sort of set it up for later. Whereas now you've got to cast it and move it across the board, and your opponent can dispel it before it gets there, and so on.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's got better.
Okay.
So you still can't do rally or inspiring presence within 6 inches. I think it might have used to be 12. It doesn't affect Beasts of Chaos. Then it's got a new ability where anytime an enemy model issues a command within 6 inches of this endless spell, on a 5+, the command is not received, and ability will count as it being used, and the command point is spent. So if somebody tries to do an Unleash Hell or a redeploy or anything like that, on a 5-up it doesn't work. Nobody else in their army can do it because you've already tried it, and you've spent the command point. So that's really good.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that. It's a 5-up, mind you, but that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like
It's
that.
like a 40 or 45 point endless spell.
Yeah.
It's got 3 parts to it, so it covers a lot of space.
Yeah, no, for sure, I like that. Just kind of cast my eye over the other two. It looks as if the Taurus is still strike last effect, yeah, within 3 inches. And the Doomblast looks like it's given it an aura of -1 to wound your units.
And it's always interested me because it gets bigger, so it's very useful.
Mm-hmm.
It's cast on a 6, and as soon as it's getting good, your opponent will just dispel it.
Yeah.
And then it resets to 6 next time you cast it, so
Oh yeah, of course.
I don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Range of 12, it doesn't move.
Yeah, oh, yeah, of course it just sits there, doesn't it? Yeah. And then any inkling towards the Taurus? Do you think you need the strike last, or?
It's good. It's cast on a 7. It moves 12 inches, which is really fast for an endless spell, but it's only got a casting range of 6, so...
It's also 70 points as well.
Yeah, that's its problem.
Yeah.
It's just too expensive on an army with no casting buffs, really.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't spend that much on an endless spell for Beasts of Chaos.
Yeah.
I'll buy the Direflock 40 or 45.
Yeah.
And that's as far as it goes for me.
I think I like that as a tech piece, no, definitely. Okay, and that's us, mate. We've been through the pretty much the entire tome there. So yeah, before we sign off, and we will. I know this has been a slightly lengthier one, folks, but it's been really good just to chat through everything. There's a lot of units in this book. There's a lot of things you can do as well. So it's been
Still
good,
a big book.
good to get that. Oh yeah, 100%. It's a huge book. So before we kind of sign off, John, just when you were kind of been talking about like your list building and things like that, what's one of your lists kind of been looking like in terms of what units you're taking?
Well, depends how you want to go. I think it's the sensible way, and the way they want you to play now is into the Brayherd side of things.
Okay.
So it's having a few of the battle line units of the Gore, Ungor, possibly even the Raiders, which aren't battle line, but the bodies going around, and then a unit or two of Estigor with some heroes. I think that's kind of what they want you to build from, with a few little monsters on the side. I think if you do that and you play an all herd, you're going to be recycling models, You're not summoning new ones, but you're going to be recycling them. There's some really clever little tech pieces in the artifacts and the command traits. I think it's an interesting book. With that coupled with your ambush and the rend from the Hearthstone, it's good. Just think the army's too small. I want them to bring the points down just slightly. Because as soon as I start putting in a unit of 20 Bestigor, maybe a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth and a unit of 3 Dragon Ogres and stuff, I'm running out of points already.
Yeah, and even just think 20 Bestigor, 440. 440 for that.
If you think what you get for 440 in other armies, I know on turn 2 they go up to Rend 2 straight away, and then Rend 3 in turn 4. It's good.
Yep.
But it's in one place.
Yep.
It still dies. It still has a low bravery. If you can't use Inspiring Presence for some reason, you're losing a lot of them. I just think the whole army is just a little bit too expensive, in my opinion. They will be willing to be proven wrong.
No,
I'll be delighted to be proven wrong.
No, I for one, I'm super excited to see what lists will shake out here. From this, it's a totally different book. It really is. It's not just one little things here's changed, whatever. It is completely new, and yeah, I can't wait to see how it pivots both with the new book and also with the new tome and the new GHB that's just come out as well, to see what lists are going to come out of there.
There's a couple of missions that have objectives near the side and so on, so you could bring Galatian champions on from ambush onto objectives. You may well play this GHB well. So it's going to take some looking at, and I am going to give it a shot. I'm hoping that points will come down, 10%, something like that. If you took 10 points off here, 20 points off there, I think all of a sudden it could be interesting.
Yeah. Do you think, and this is maybe one last question before we kind of take things to a close, do you think that they are suffering for their very good performance in their last older book? Do you think that they're being overly hit with the nerf hammer here, kind of a bit like circa, what was it, 2018 Slanesh, where they came out and were destroying 2019. They came out, they were destroying the world, and then they got their new book, and was that a big come down with massive points increases, and people were basically saying that this tome is unplayable. Do you think it's kind of
feels
along those lines?
Like that? I also think that this book must have been written a while ago.
Okay.
In which case, it might not be that. It comes across as exactly that, a reaction to in the same way as the Slanesh book. We've only had that White Dwarf for a year, and this book they must have been writing it about a year ago.
Yeah, you think so?
To get it printed, published, spread around the world in place, ready to go. So they didn't have all that evidence of these high win rates when they wrote it. So can it be a reaction to that win rate? Or was just this their plan all along? I don't know. It's very hard to tell, and as I say, it's come out at the same time as this Gitz book, which has got a lot of things in it which people are just going, "Oh my god, that's bonkers."
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell how they plan these things. We had that with Slanesh and Doc a year ago, where the Doc book came out with 4-up rallies and bow snakes and all these things, and the Slanesh book made people cry. So I don't know. Yeah. I think this one is a very interesting book.
Yeah, no, good, and I'm glad that you're interested.
Points values can be changed easily. Warscrolls are harder to change.
For sure, and there's some good. I think the bones, the book. There's some good Warscrolls in here. There's some nice abilities. There's some nice things all round. As you say, it's maybe just a slight points tweak, which they're doing all the time. They're doing in every battle scroll update. They can change the points.
Every few months we're getting a change at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So no, absolutely.
I like the book because it has the potential to be very interesting, and all it needs is points change to make the army fit.
Cool, and we should see this as a nice balanced tome.
I think it'll lie somewhere in the middle, which is what Games Workshop keeps saying they want. They want everybody to be, was it between 45 and 55%?
Yeah.
And this will surely be in that bracket somewhere. Whereabouts, I don't know, but somewhere in that bracket. It's not going to be in the bottom. It's not going to be in the top.
Perfect. Oh, very good.
Probably a success.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, by GW standards, a success. So yeah, well, thank you so much for your thoughts, John. It's been invaluable having you on and hearing all of your thoughts on the new tome. As I say, you've taken the old book, the old beast, to great heights, and it'd be great to see you do it again with the new book as well. So I'm glad that you're sticking with
We
him.
shall see.
We shall see. Caveat, we shall see. But yeah, it's good to see you sticking with them, and yeah, looking forward to seeing you at them with them at some tournaments as well. But yeah, no, thanks so much for coming on. And yeah, and we've had quite a lot of chat interaction. There's lots of people interested in the beast, which is good to see. So yeah, that's great. Kind of for the future. Stephen Dale, he's saying thanks for the enjoyable listen and things like that. So anything else you'd like to say before we sign off here, John?
I would just like to say that I'm really looking forward to your battle with Kara, because
yes.
her army that she's had for many years and looks beautiful on the table is based largely around the Brayherd units. So this book could well suit her perfectly.
For sure, no, absolutely. Yeah, her armies are beautiful, and yeah, she loves the gore, loves the best of gore. So I think that could play really nicely into that, no, for sure. I can't wait to just have them all resin back, and I can't kill them.
I think she'll do well with it. I think this will suit her.
No, definitely, that'll be great. So yeah, so thanks so much, folks. We're going to sign off there. It's been a great chat. Thanks again to all the sponsors for the channel as well. Thanks again to all the patrons as well, which are on the screen there just now as well. Please remember, if you made it this far, right after the video's over, go to the comments section. If you comment with the comment of "I answered the call," you get your name into the monthly giveaway, and we'll get you. Hopefully, you can get drawn for that, and you get a whole bunch of goodies, some models, some tokens, some movement trays, all that good stuff. So yeah, please make sure you're signing into that, and yeah, make sure to like and subscribe as well, folks. That was that's the main thing I've got to say, right? So thanks. Yeah, and Cara saying thanks very much. Thanks for joining us as well. So yeah, without further ado, folks, I think that's us. So I'm going to say good night to everyone. And John, you want to say anything to the folks?
Oh, good night. Good night. Thanks for joining us.
No worries. Thanks, guys. And yeah, and please make sure to tune in next time and answer the call. Thanks, folks. Bye bye.